And welcome back here to the George R. Brown Convention Center in downtown Houston. We continue with our coverage from the 87th Texas High School Coaches Association Annual Convention, and we're pleased to be joined now by Mike Harrison. He's the head coach of the little train that could, the Holy Cross Knights of San Antonio Private School football, and I say that in an admirable way because I've always been amazed at the product that you guys put out at Holy Cross with a really pretty small student population,
Right.
in a tough area, but there's just a lot of love at Holy Cross, and it shows in the way your kids perform.
The way they play the game is incredible. And again, Bobby, thank you for having me here. It's kind of interesting, having done this for 31 years, to start working with kids that have such a passion. And I'm asked by coaches all the time, what do you do? What do you do? And I'm like, we don't do a whole lot. Those kids just kind of play that way. I think it's tradition. I don't think they want to let anything down. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think there's a sense of pride in their community. But it's just a passion that they play with. They are incredible. They are fun to coach, I can tell you that.
Well, I know at Holy Cross that being a private school, your kids literally could come from everywhere. But is there a part of San Antonio that you tend to
Yes.
to get kids from more?
We
than
get
others?
more Northwest and South Side kids. We're more from probably the western half of San Antonio ISD. Very few Edgewood kids. We really don't have a lot of Edgewood kids, but it's kind of the western half of San Antonio ISD, Harlandale, McCullum, and then that southern half of North Side. We get a lot of kids from that area. That's where the bulk of our kids come from. A lot of them are, my uncle went to school here, my
Right.
dad went to school here. It's really important that I go to school here. It's funny now, since we have girls, so now you've got girls who are like, well, my dad went to school here, so I have to go to school here.
Right.
It's kind of cool. It's really fun because you have all those connections. We have kids that, I mean, it's interesting in the fact that where they come from, parents, I think, were in that community when they were young.
Mm-hmm.
They've moved out. But
Right.
now they're trying to get their kids back
Right.
to that school. It's neat. The roots of that community are very, very deep. And we have so many people on staff that are former alumni too. It's really cool.
There's certainly a brotherhood and a love that all you got to do is walk on campus at Holy Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Right there across from St. Mary's,
Mhm.
in that area of West San Antonio. And I like the story of how this all got started. And Brother Stanley.
Yes, that man is timeless. He's a timeless
Tell
human
us
being.
his story and the story of Holy Cross,
Sure.
kind of in a nutshell,
Sure.
so our viewers and our listeners can understand, your program. at
Absolutely.
Holy
I
Cross.
love to brag about that story because I think it tells so much about the community. When I first got the job, I didn't know the history of it either. Brother Stanley is a member of the Congregation of Holy Cross. Brother Stanley comes to the school in late 50s when it first opens. He's a teacher. He's really, really, really moved by the issues within the community. Particularly one that struck him is where Holy Cross was, it was a dirt road. Other streets in San Antonio are paved, but that community still had dirt roads. And people there, he said, still died from illnesses that had long since been treatable. So he could not understand why these people could not get appropriate help. So Brother Stanley's story that is so powerful is he decides, I'm going to become a physician. And I'm going to go and get my degree. I'm going to become a doctor. And I'm going to come back and treat these people. And he did it. And he opened the Holy Cross clinics. He brings back all of this to the community just to treat them. The man, in my life, I've come in contact with two people that I think, wow, what a mission-driven human being, but more importantly, what an example of who Christ is, what we would want in our. And one was my grandmother, and the other one's Brother Stanley. They are tremendous he is a tremendous person in the sense that he just has such a passion for the school. Now, the school was supposed to close years ago. 1960s, the school was going to close. They had opened LaSalle. They had opened Holy Cross. Well, LaSalle was closing. Holy Cross was going to close. And the brothers came to the archdiocese and said, we want to keep it going. Because when the school was first opened, they were going to open it as a trade school. Mm-hmm. And the Brothers of Holy Cross said, we'll take over, but we will not in any shape, form, or fashion run a trade school. We run college preparatory schools. So they all start this college prep program on the west side of San Antonio that everybody thought, this is crazy.
Impoverished area.
Absolutely. And so it's going to close. The school is on the brink. I find out, like I said, all this is over my 14 years there. First of all, Vicky Carr is in town to do a concert. One of the former students was working a job as a doorman at the hotel she was staying at. He calls the brothers, and two of the brothers, Brother Stanley being one of them, go to the hotel and go talk to Vicky Carr and ask her if she could help. So she began to put on a series of concerts that basically saved Holy Cross. Also found out Cheech and Chong did a show for Holy Cross. They had all of these people that had came in and it literally saved the school.
Right.
And it's been to me the most powerful story of what a school community can do when they want to. We are such a great story of where we're at, who we are, the mission-driven group that did it, the Congregation of Holy Cross. It's very powerful, and our ties are with Notre Dame, St. Edward's. We don't get any money from them. I wish we did, but we don't get any money from them. But they're who we're affiliated with. That's why we dress like Notre Dame.
Right.
Bobby, I'm going to tell you, it's an incredibly powerful story of people who have a mission and live it every day. And that's kind of what's kept me there, to be honest with you.
And and I knew a little bit of the story that you just told, or most of it anyways, and I feel like that tenacity, that toughness translates on the football field.
I think so.
With your players.
I think so. Right. I think that's the tradition we talk about. They don't want to let anybody down. There's that sense of we want to carry the tradition forward, but they look to the past and they're going to play for those guys. I mean, you did the Holy Bowl last year, and 8,000 people.
Right. Good crowd at Alamo Stadium.
For
maybe the best crowd we saw at Alamo Stadium last year.
For a private school that has about 200 kids in high school.
Right.
That's the passion that drives those kids. It's fun. I'm telling you, it's fun to coach them, but it's more fun to be a part of that kind of history and that kind of background. That's what I love about it.
All right, so you're in TAPS Division 2. And
right.
The highest level is D1, which is Central Catholic and Antonian.
Yes, sir.
And there was at one time Holy Cross was in that upper level, but your enrollment declined enough to be Division 2. But you had a chance last year to play Central Catholic for the first time in quite some time. We televised it here on TexasSportsProductions.com and KCWX Channel 2. And guess what, folks? We're doing it again here.
Hey, that's going to be fun,
for the 2019
it's
season.
It's going to be fun.
It's our second game on Texas Sports Productions, but that was a big deal to be able to play them again, because that rivalry is definitely there, but it had gone dormant for such a long time. How did it come back together? And obviously you have to get both sides to agree, and Central Catholic decided, it's time to play Holy Cross again, and you guys certainly agreed that it should happen as well.
Well, Dr. Escobedo, our principal, was actually at a principal's meeting with their then principal, Eddie Ibarra. And Dr. Escobedo and Eddie sat down and said, we need to renew the rivalry. And that's where it started. So the next thing I know is I get a phone call to come to the front office, and Dr. Escobedo says, hey, would you be interested in rekindling the Holy Bowl? I'm like, oh, yeah. And because we felt like we would have had the previous 4 years, we'd had some really good football teams. And we were like, man, we had been on a 3-game win streak.
Right.
We had 4 years of really good teams.
Right.
And man, we might, we could have possibly won 7 or 8 in a row. That's
Right.
what we were feeling. I mean, it's a rivalry game, so you never know. But we were just I don't know, heartbroken to lose it. And I said, man, we want to do it. So we have a big powwow. Dr. Escobedo, myself, Paul Gatto from Central was there, Eddie Ibarra, Mike Santiago, Hector Rodriguez, and we all sat down and we just started talking about what's it going to take to make this thing happen. We wound up doing a service project with them. We had mass with them. It was like there were all these inter-community things between us and Central that week that I thought really gave it more of a feel of like a college bowl game than necessarily
Just
two high school teams.
Yeah,
playing.
just another game.
It was incredible. And for us to come back and do that, and I respect Central for that. I really do. I think, first of all, they have a great program. They've been around forever. They are by far probably one of the most well-known programs in the city. Mm-hmm. And for them to step out on a limb truly and say, you know what, we're going to play this smaller school. That's kudos to them, because I can tell you, having been on the other side of that thing, it's not an easy thing to do when you're the bigger school, because if you lose,
what happened? Yeah.
Why didn't you win?
Right.
And if you win, it's what you should have.
Right.
And for Central to do that, I have a lot of respect for their program and Coach Santiago. I'm very happy about them making that step.
Well, we're so excited to bring that to live television again in San Antonio here in 2019, and obviously as a football coach in the state of Texas, I think everybody's ultimate goal in terms of playing football. Obviously, most coaches, I know you're one of those. Let's make these young men better human beings, better dads, better husbands, better members of our community. That's the ultimate goal. But from the X's and O's standpoint, the ultimate goal is hold up a state championship trophy, which is really hard to do. And
any level, in any classification.
And at a school like Holy Cross, the likelihood of that is probably not real high. However, when you get a game like a Central Catholic, a rivalry game,
right?
That's got to mean so much, because outside of winning a state championship, getting a chance to play somebody that you really want to beat, that you really, I mean, just having that opportunity, that adds to the special. There's a lot of games along the way, and you want to win as many of them or all of them as you can. But having that rivalry, how important is that to just keeping the kids motivated and everybody surrounding it excited about what's going on?
Bobby, one of the things that really, really just impressed me last year, Coach Santiago is a former college coach.
Right.
You're talking about a guy, McNeese, Stephen F., UIW. He's been around the block, and he was like, what makes this game such a big deal? And all I kept telling him is, you'll see.
Right.
You'll see. And Mike comes to me. Last week we were picking officials for the game, and we were actually one of the higher-rated games.
Right.
And he goes, for the first time I heard him go, hey, this is a big game. We need a good crew. And I'm like, wow. To hear that come from the other side.
Full circle.
To say, we understand it's a big game and it's really important. That was awesome for all of us. But you're right. I mean, think about it. If you're a high school kid, you get to play on television.
Right.
In front of probably 8,000 to 10,000 people.
Right.
It's an electric atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. And the whole week leading in.
Oh, and it is like a bowl game.
Right.
I said, what an incredible, incredible experience it is. I love that stuff, Bobby. I think that's the stuff that makes high school football. We've talked about, we were close to the state championship game 3 years ago.
Right.
Until we find a way to beat Austin Regents.
Yeah, it's going to be like that.
It's going to be like that.
Right.
I've told people it's kind of a shame, because I really feel like the last 4 or 5 years, truthfully, we've been the second best team in the South.
Right.
Unfortunately, they're the best team in the South.
Right.
Coach Bryden does a great job. They have a great program. They're really, really, really well coached. They have a very talented quarterback. But our kids, I think, and this goes back to the tradition stuff that we talked about before, is this idea of a high school kid gets to play in an environment like Central Catholic.
Right.
and we also get to play against Austin Regents. I mean, it helps you have that whole experience that makes high school athletics worth the experience for all of us.
Well, it's a fun game to cover. If you've never seen the Holy Cross Knights play, that would be a good time to go. Is at the Central Catholic game. What is the date on that? September
7th, September the 7th, 7 p.m. at
not-
Alamo Stadium.
Not that you've memorized.
Not that I know anything about that. Not that I have any clue about that, but I would really urge you to come out there on September the 7th at 7 p.m. at Alamo Stadium and be a part of it, because until you're part of it, you don't understand how amazing and how incredible it is. It's a great high school environment.
And you got a good district race, but you also have another good non-district game that you get to playing Antonians.
Oh, the Apaches, baby.
It's maybe not quite as big in the rivalry aspect as the Central Catholic game, but it's pretty intense
pretty
as
big.
well.
Yeah, it's one of the things I tell people. I have a good friend of mine, by the way. I'm just going to tangent
All
here
three
for a
of
minute.
you, Antonian and Holy Cross, but Antonian Central's really big.
Oh, and
too.
it's a big one. I mean, you talk about Antonian
That
Central.
trifecta, yeah.
Those three teams playing each other are intense high school very physical games. One of the comments I had from a good friend of mine who used to coach at Antonian and kids went to school there. He calls me up and says, "Dude, I was at the Holy Bowl." He says, "That's one of the most physical high school football games I've ever seen." He says, "I don't care if it's 6A."
right.
What he says he says you could hear it.
Right.
And I said, "Oh yeah, it's powerful." I said, "There's some incredible stuff going on," and it is to me. It's just like that with Antonian. When we
Right.
play them, I mean, there is just some physical slobber knocking hits that go on. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Well,
Fun to be a part of.
right now, we definitely can confirm that Central Holy Cross Television, second week, we believe we'll have a video stream as well of the Antonian game.
Oh,
so
cool. That's awesome.
You'll get to see Mike Harrison's Holy Cross Knights at least twice this year right here on Texas Sports Productions. Mike, it's always a pleasure.
Bobby, thank you for having me, man.
Enjoy coaching school. Try to keep yourself and your staff out of trouble.
Gonna try. I'm trying my best. It's a difficult thing. I mean, I got a few of them here watching. My son's here with me today. That's always fun, being a pop, and you got your kid here.
That's all.
And he's coaching now, and go Kennedy Rockets, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to cheer for them a little bit. So it's always fun. Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be back with more on from Houston with the Texas High School Coaches Association Convention here on TexasSportsProductions.com.